Kathy, thank you so much for being on mine and Julia's podcast, Automating Success. This is Kathy Mosler, known as the Robot Lady. Um, we are very happy to have you on the podcast, and we want to know what song represents your thought process as you're driving around, doing your thing during the day. What song resonates with Kathy?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I'm very honored to be here. But yeah, and it was a challenge actually picking the song, and I actually ended up with 3 songs. So the first one is by Led Zeppelin, "Your Time Is Gonna Come." So the reason that song resonates with me is that it represents the patience I've had to have regarding robotic lawnmowers. I've been in this business for 13 years and I don't see robot mowers everywhere. I find that frustrating. But every time I hear that song, I think about how that's going to happen. We're going to have robot mowers everywhere. So that's number one. Number two is actually was the idea of my, what I'd call genius daughter marketing person. She's at IU studying marketing. She said to pick "Don't Stop Me Now." So I went and listened to the lyrics of that and realized, I do like that song, but it's actually all about the fun I've been having with this business. I mean, you cannot understand the excitement people have about getting a robotic lawnmower and seeing it working until after they own it. And they're so thrilled and give you that feedback. And that's the thing that makes it really, really fun for me. So then the one that I actually thought I would like to pick, as the one possibly is "I Want to Be a Billionaire." But
Yeah.
the thing was, I listened to the lyrics and I'm like, but I don't want to be like that. That's all about like accumulating wealth and having stuff and all this stuff. That's not what it's about for me. What it's about for me is changing the world. So being a billionaire to me means I've either done it myself or influenced others to change the world. And, if I get 10 million, 100 million, 1 million, what does it matter? If I can look out and see that I was part of that change, that makes me a billionaire. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, I want to interject there and say that Tech Magazine did an article and said robotic lawn mowing, in their opinion, in the next decade would be an $80 billion industry. So first, there should be 80 billionaires in this industry, right?
Yep.
So I don't think at all it's strange or weird that you would say that, especially when you're talking from an entrepreneurial point of view. You have put in 13 years of your life to devote your time and your brain power to get a snowball rolling in an industry that's been very slow to adopt this technology. So some people might look at it and say, well, if Kathy achieved that, like, what's she doing with that $1 billion? But I look at that and say, well, the first thing we have to do is divide that $1 billion by 13 years, because most people don't realize the amount of legwork someone like you puts in to pounding the pavement before things finally happen. So,
yeah.
So
exactly.
Thank you for everyone in the industry for 13 hard years. I will say something that's Kathy and I, to the audience, we talked for a good half year, and then realized we played volleyball together, and also realized that you were driving a vehicle with robotic lawn mowing magnets. And this is before I was into automation like I am. And I didn't even look twice at it as a large landscaper. Do you want to elaborate on that? Because we had a funny conversation about this,
Oh, I know. It's so funny that Joe keeps telling me, we're at the trade show and you're telling me I know you. I know you from somewhere. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't know. And finally, he puts it together that we were on the volleyball team. So there's another thing we all three of us have in common. And then it's like, oh yeah, you're that. No, remember what I said? I said,
I don't know. I think you might have said you're that asshole that wants to win all.
No. I said you were Michael Jordan on that team. Remember I said that?
I was very flattered. You made me blush a little bit.
Well, we can talk more and unpack that a little bit, but I would like to do that a little bit if you don't mind. Unpack that a little, because when I said that, I think most people would take that as, I'm a star, I'm a great volleyball player. Okay, I listened to your podcast where you guys were talking volleyball, so Julia knows, right?
Yeah.
Great, but weird approach, So I knew that too at the time. But what I meant by that, I don't know if you saw the, what do they call that thing? Whatever, the series, the documentary about the Bulls documentary that was just on. I watched the whole thing. Okay. There was a point where Phil Jackson says, Michael, sorry, you're not going to get the ball all the time anymore. We're going to do this triangle, whatever he called it. I don't know basketball. So I just like Michael Jordan, So anyway, so that's what I meant, is like on that team, you were at the stage of Michael Jordan before the ball got spread around, right? So that's what I meant by it.
So you're basically saying I was a ball hog. So I shouldn't have blushed. Now I'm sweating nervously. But
no. I'll just go on the volleyball thing a little bit more. Okay, so I'm a setter. I'm also a hitter. We could talk about that later. How can a 5'3" person be a good hitter? We can get into that later. But as a setter, my job is to make you guys hit better. Okay. If your balls aren't slamming down, crushing it, that's my fault. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the setter's job is to make the hitters better. And I don't believe in just making one person better. I want to make everyone on the team better. And when I'm a setter, I have 5 players ready to hit at all times. And I'm going to give them a dynamite set every single time, no matter how bad the pass is. That is my goal. Okay. So I refine that and I maximize that. So it's a technique. I think there is a name for it called maximizing. And that's kind of like who I am. Everything I do, I maximize to perfection. Not perfection as an obsession, but perfection to get results. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
All right.
I like to think that I'm the type of hitter that can hit anything that gets thrown up,
That's great. No, I like that you like that, but I'm not going to give you slop. So
yeah. I will say it's always funny to me because when I met Gretchen at volleyball, and I always say, like, we kind of come together as like a package team at volleyball, and so yeah, it's like I remember because you brought up too, like you were like, wait, you're that husband wife that plays or whatever. So I remember thinking back because you kind of did remember us as a package, So.
Yes, I did, and you looked very different too because you had between when I knew you and then, and I think that's why I didn't recognize you because you had lost a lot of weight. So congratulations on that.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you had no beard either.
Yeah, and I didn't have the beard.
The beard. Oh
yeah, right. I think the beard threw me too. Yep.
Yeah, sure. yeah. Well, then you just knew me as the volleyball player, ball hog Joe, apparently, and now you know me as the professional robotic Joe. So.
I'll tell you something, Joe. I would not know in a million years, based on who I knew you as only as a person on that court, and knowing you now. They were like night and day difference. So that's a challenge to you to work on that, to integrate your whole life, even into the volleyball team. Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that I always tell people is this for me with volleyball, and it's actually ironic you bring that up, and then we'll move off volleyball. But one of my biggest frustrations with volleyball is I play volleyball as like I don't have to be the leader that I am every day in my life,
I see.
290 employees looking to me for answers all the time, needing me to be like that, like stand up leader, always setting the right example. And what I've always told people is when I go play volleyball, that's like the one thing that I do for me. I just want to go and I just want to play. I don't want to have to explain to people why I want to win. I don't want to have to explain to people why I look irritated if we're not winning, because I do, as a business owner, sometimes you have to put on your best face even though you don't want to. So for me, in that 1 hour, I just want to do me. And the other thing that I always tell people that's difficult with volleyball, and I'll say this, for people, for me that listen, is everybody that's played volleyball with me, and it's one of her biggest challenges because she's always telling me to smile, and Gretchen will tell me smile. And this is the one thing that I've seen playing, volleyball is really a woman-dominated sport. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's only been recently where there's, men's volleyball, like high school level stuff, right? So for me, I always want the women that I play with to understand something. The sports that I grew up in, football, wrestling, they're contact sports. And you were pretty much told, like, channel your anger. We're okay with you being angry. If we don't score a touchdown, be pissed off, be upset, So I always try to tell people, like, when I have all these women always be like, smile, we want you to be fun. It should be fun. And I'm always like, we're losing. What are you talking about?
Just trying to pick you up out on the court.
I know. So, but there's something that could, what you said, I like how you said, let's unwrap this a little bit. It's something, if we're unwrapping, like men, sometimes like men versus women, I always like to say, like, let's talk about what makes us different, This is a difference for me in just background, so it's like, I'm sure if I had played volleyball, like you did, club, like with you and your daughters, yes, we've been told, like, be happy. Like I see the girls that are like, oh, ace, and they jump in. Guys would never do that. Like, guys just don't do that kind of thing,
It would be pretty fun. It's my goal to get you to do that.
Okay, so it's like, what I always like to tell people is, like, if we appreciated each other for what we are all the time, and didn't ask somebody to change because of the way they were brought up, and just appreciate it. Like, so, like, for me, sometimes I can be a jerk at volleyball. I'll just say it. Like, sometimes I'm just a jerk. But at the end of the day, if you had to pick who you wanted to set, game point, Kathy, who you want to throw a set up to last point of the game, do you throw it up to me because I'm going to want to pound that ball because I want to win so bad? Or do you, to me, I would think that everybody out there wants to win. So you sort all that out point by point and just let people be who they are and have fun.